Hello and welcome to the first of two recaps for the War of the Spark pre-release, brought to you by Wizards of the Coast and Loading Ready Run. And speaking of Loading Ready Run, that's us. I'm Graham. This is Adam.
Hi.
And joining us are two of our guests from the pre-release: Sydney Stafl, better known as the streamer and cosplayer Tappy Toe Claus, Raptor, and Adam Koebel, co-author of Dungeon World and DM of Jace Beleren Must Die on the D&D Twitch channel. And we all had a great day playing a lot of Magic yesterday. It all sort of blurs together. Oh boy, getting our hands on this set was... I didn't know what to expect from this set, and it was a lot.
Apparently I knew exactly what to expect from this set, because
Evidently.
I'm still mad.
Yeah, I think we're all a
Still
little
upset,
mad at
yeah.
how that went.
I've never seen someone roll the dice so many times and just win. They're just like, I don't know, I just keep getting doubles. I don't know what happened.
So, I mean, Sydney, let's start with you.
Okay.
Let's talk a little bit about your deck and one sort of, if there was a defining moment for you from yesterday.
Well, there was one defining moment, but it just kept happening. So I made a called shot on Twitter that I was just going to pull Niv Mizzet, because it's on brand, and I was just going to play it regardless of whatever fixing I did or didn't have.
It was a called shot?
I called it on Twitter when I was in the airport on my way here. Somebody was like, "Are you playing Arena in the airport because you're practicing for the pre-release?" And I said, "Psh, what practice? Please believe I'm going to pull Niv Mizzet, play 5-color garbage, and never win a game and have a great time." So I guess it was half a
so you were wrong
because I
then, yeah.
only lost one of the 5 games I
What's it
played.
like to be wrong on the internet?
Oh,
Sydney?
man. Well, I'm a woman, so everyone already assumes I'm wrong on the internet. But anyway, yeah, this boy is... so I played a 5-color pile of cards. I also had Nico Bolas.
You also opened the most fixing of anyone.
Yes.
Like, no one else could have made this work.
I opened all 3 of the good green fixing spells. So I had the 2/4 Centaur that gains, it's 3 and a green that gains you 3 life, and then it taps for any color. I got the Paradise Druid, which is 1 and a green, and then I got the Enchant a Land, 2 and a green, +1/+1 counter on something, and then taps for 2.
New Horizons.
New Horizons, yep. And I got the Mana Geode,
Wow.
which is just strictly better Manolith. The Scry honestly really helps, too.
My pool had like 1 mana geode.
And then I also got that Guild Globe thing, which I did put in my deck. I made like what I thought was the responsible adult choice to put all fixing in my deck. This card is horrible. Do not play it.
Yeah,
Really?
pretty bad.
I never activated it once.
No,
like I never.
Not only did you not activate it, but it was on the board and it was a valid target for Sahili,
And I
you
forgot
never
about
used
it.
it.
No,
you were
I-
like,
well-
I'm so disgusted by this Guild Globe, I'm not even going to turn it into a creature. It has to stay over here, away from me.
To be fair, when I originally read Saheeli, I thought you could only target your artifacts into other artifacts.
Right.
So I was trying to use Saheeli to turn the Guild Globe into a Manolith or into the Geode. That was what the plan
so they can
was.
copy, okay.
Or to turn her servos into the Geode. I didn't realize I could have
Right.
copied
It was a
my
fixing
Mana
situation.
Dorks.
Yeah.
Obviously, it still ended quite well for me.
Yeah, I was going to say, I love how the whole run-up to you playing was repeatedly saying, like, what a good goof. This isn't going to work. This isn't going to work. And I got to say, as the person who was first in line to get hit by that train, it worked fine. So we played our first match, and I won the only game I won all of yesterday. And I was like, okay, yeah, so
Yeah, I did you a solid.
it is a big silly joke, and it's fine. And then after that, it was just like, it's like trying to walk on ice. I was like, no, this isn't happening. I'm like, I can't stand. And then you just blew through the rest of the day.
Yeah, it was wild. So, like, I mean, Niv Mizzet doesn't really, he's not actually, I mean, he's great, but, the card itself, I mean, a 6/6 flyer just wins you the game, actually. It's,
Turns out.
especially in Limited.
What's the most cards you drew off the ability?
3.
3.
And
Wow.
That's absurd.
I had...
That's actually amazing.
Somebody call Frank Karsten. I had 11 2-color spells.
Okay.
And Nico Bolas, which I did draw a few times, but then couldn't actually grab because he's 3 colors, because that's to be exactly 2.
Yeah.
The only other card that was a 100% total all-star that is I don't even think it's a cold take. I think it's a very reasonable, actually well thought out take. Can we get that 1 in a blue bounce a creature and Amass one?
Oh,
I don't know what it's called.
This is your favorite card.
This is dismissal
Cautious
something?
Callous.
Callous dismissal.
Yeah, there we go.
Callous
Sorry.
dismissal.
This card, I think, is going to be the best blue common in Limited.
So 1 in a blue sorcery, bounce a creature to its owner's hand.
And amass 1.
Sorry, bounce and target non-land permanent to its owner's hand.
Yeah.
And amass 1.
So you can put a Planeswalker back in somebody's hand if it's huge.
Yeah.
You can kill somebody's Amass army.
Oh, yeah.
If somebody has like a 6/6
Yeah.
army, I did that a few times. And then you get a blocker. Like, and so I thought this was instant speed a few times because the judges kind of like saw me like mess up, and honestly in post you could probably see it too, where I like am about, like I purposely don't play it on a turn because I'm trying to play it at instant speed, and then I like, you know, remember that I can read sometimes and like realize that it's sorcery speed, so I don't. But so like, if you just think about this as a creature that bounces something when it enters the battlefield, like that's an insane rate. That card is just bonkers good. Anyway, that's my totally reasonable takeaway. Also, Nico Bolas is just good. Like,
Well, it's interesting. It's interesting seeing
Very
Callous.
good.
It's
Speaking
interesting
of
seeing
hot
Callous
takes.
Dismissal in the same set as what is called Totally Lost.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The 4-in-1 that's an instant speed without the Amass, right? It's the same bounce. Is that common too? Yeah, it is.
and Totally Lost puts it on your library too, so kind of like
Yeah,
nerfs
instead
your
of in
next
your
draw.
hand. Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting seeing both of those and like watching when people would choose to play them or have them in their deck.
I'm interested to see, like, because like Callous Dismissal is really good. I think it might fight with the 2/2 flyer that Amass has won. I think they're closer than it looks.
Haven Eternal.
Yeah.
Well, I think it really depends on whether you want to do like a creature deck that's actually building up a army.
Yeah.
Because I think what Callous Dismissal is really doing is it's a control card. It's like a tempo play that'll keep you alive for another
Yeah,
turn,
yeah, yeah.
which is 100% why I was playing it.
Yeah.
Because I was just like, well, it's gonna take me. I assumed it was gonna take me like 10 turns to get Wooburg, and then it, natural Wooburg just kind of kept happening to me.
It just keeps happening.
Right, you're just sitting
Better
there.
to be lucky than good.
You're just sitting there at the slot machine, and money's pouring to your lap, and you're just looking at everyone around you like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm rich now. And we're all just like, that's fine. You're having a great time. Good.
Having fun.
That's good. I think the Amass stuff, from what I saw watching everybody play, Amass on its own doesn't feel like a huge mechanic, but I think you can really make it work when you add in those creatures that give your army tokens other abilities. Like it's pretty easy, even in 2-color, to have a 5/5 flying death touch, like
Yeah.
pretty quickly with
There's the
Amass.
Eternal Skylord.
Yeah.
Who does not fly itself. I definitely thought it did.
I thought it flew too.
Yeah, no, he makes everyone else fly.
Makes the zombie tokens fly. And there are cards that make zombie tokens that aren't the armies.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is
Well, like Liliana, if you happen to get Liliana. But then there's, I can't remember the name of it, but there's a 1/1 in black that gives all of the armies death touch, like you mentioned.
Yep.
And there's one that gives them
hexproof and
Hexproof. There's like a
menace.
Hexproof and Menace. Yeah.
Something Overseer.
Yeah, it's the
Hexproof and
blue. It's the
Menace?
blue black one.
Hexproof and Menace.
It's weird that you get blue
yeah,
and
it's
menace
one-
blue, but
It's one blue, one black, and one other, and it's the overseer. This guy.
Well, I
And-
mean, black is the hex, or black
Gleaming
is
Overseer.
the
Yeah, Hexproof is
blue is the
yeah,
hexproof,
hexproof
black
is
is the
yeah,
menace.
that's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
and you also amass with that one. Oh wow.
Well, and that's the thing is
What a
most
great-
of these cards you do amass. Like
Yeah.
it's not like you're building up your army and then buffing them. It's at the same time both of those levels are going up. So every time you cast something, you're like, I amass 2, now they're flying. I amass again, now they're death touch, and so you end up pretty quickly. And I think this is the strength for limited. Is you end up pretty quickly with something big that's going to be able to hit.
Yeah.
Or you just wait and cast Niv Mizzet and then the
like-
game's over, I guess.
Sometimes you cast Nico Bolas and Niv Mizzet too,
Yeah,
to be fair.
sometimes.
So can I just say too that like when I looked at these, I didn't really think Amass was going to be that great because generally I would rather go wide than tall. But I think it's I think if you went that much wider, the board you wouldn't be able to play this format. Like the format already is pretty clunky and slow
we
and
had
fun.
some pretty wide board states.
I had to remember to push my stuff back together a few times when I had it like off to the side.
Yeah.
But other than that, too, to what Adam said, a lot of the creatures that make Amass tokens stick around and do stuff too. So you're kind of going wide while at the same time you're like building a pyramid. It's like an in between. Like,
Yeah, there's an interesting balance there because you see it in the Planeswalkers too. Like
Yeah.
a lot of the Planeswalkers are built so they have an odd number of loyalty tokens when they come in, and then an amount that costs an even amount. So you end up with a Planeswalker you can't do anything with. They have 1 on them, but they're continuing to provide an effect in the same way that those zombies that affect the other armies, like they may not be great on their own because by the time you have that 5/5 trample, you don't really need a 2/3 so bad. But you want them around because they're making your zombie army have menace or
they're doing
whatever.
whatever.
Yeah.
The brilliant thing I love about that design choice is that it still gains you a bit of life. Like
Yeah.
when I had Ob Nixilis on the board and it was at 1 loyalty, and in the game between Graham and I, it's like Graham had to attack it because Nicholas was
pinging me every turn.
And it's just like, just stop it, stop, fine. I attack it, and I was like,
Fine.
I gained 3 life. Like, okay, thanks, cool, man. Like,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know, I just think that's super interesting.
I think that's part of the interesting thing, like, with my deck. I think that's part of the reason that it worked is because, like, I did get very lucky in that I had all the green ramp, or I had all the green fixing and some of the ramp. But part of the reason why the format does go a little bit slower is, like, you do just sometimes a Planeswalker text just reads, like, you don't take combat damage this turn as a player because somebody's swinging at your Planeswalker. So you do have that as kind of an added, like, way to buff out your life total almost as a control player.
So with your 5-color pile, what would you say was your play of the game or your most memorable moment from yesterday?
Well, I mean, it was probably pocket bacon.
Is that the same bag of...
Well, it wasn't in my pocket, so I guess technically now it's couch bacon.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, good. We still... I mean, I guess it's been cooked.
Oh, and bacon's hella preserved, so
How is it?
it's still pretty good.
Great. Adam, what did you build?
Well, so it was an interesting event because for me, I'm very much like a constructed player. Like I grew up on
Totally fine.
Type 2, and I play Standard pretty exclusively. This was only the second like physical like sealed event I've ever done.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean you can tell by my startling 0-2 record. I won 1 game, sort of.
Well,
Hey, dude, you want to guess me?
players who played for dozens of, like, limited players who play all the time sometimes go 0-2. Like,
Yeah.
Sure,
that's
yeah.
We also don't necessarily worry about records. I went 2-0 yesterday, but it's been so long since that's happened that people in chat were like, Graham doing well at a pre-release? What's going on here? What universe are we in?
Well, and so that's the thing. Like for me,
and I do them all the time.
For me, the stuff that feels memorable wasn't even so much like the matches that I played, but it was getting to see everybody else interacting and like watching all the deck techs and like just hanging around and experiencing the set with everybody. I thought that was really cool. Getting to play, I was like, okay, I have a theory about how this deck might work, and
What were you running?
I was doing black, red, blue.
Grixis.
Yeah, I was doing Grixis.
like base black, red, and then splashing blue.
Yeah, and you know what? It ended up being that like I felt like it was pretty good. Like you can watch, it was pretty good. I survived on 3 land for a long
you
time.
did.
That was
That was
Right.
unreal. That's like just like I've never seen someone have that bad of luck. I was like, how is that even? That's statistically unlikely.
I was
pretty
taking
bad.
all of the luck.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, and that's the thing is like the one game that we played that I won, I got you down fast, right?
Yes,
It was
yeah, you
over. It was
definitely-
over relatively quickly. But the deck's a little soft in the middle. If I had been able to get to that end bit, it would have been
Because you
better.
had Nico
but-
Bolas too.
I did, yeah.
So-
Which I didn't get a chance to play him. I was one turn off, one game.
I played
but,
him for you.
Yeah, I know. Well, and
everything.
that's what was so offensive about that first game, where I was like, it's like you show up and you're like, I've got this secret weapon, and someone else is like, check out my 12 secret weapons. You're like, no, it's mine. I made that. That's for me.
Well, and to your point too about that first game, the format isn't necessarily slow. I mean, you and Dennis had blisteringly fast games.
You had an entire match take
Cam-
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cam and Kathleen's first game was very fast too.
that was awesome. They
Just
were
a lot of like,
slugging
you
each other.
take 8, I take 12, like back and forth, just hammering.
Yeah.
It's one of those things, and you know we saw the games get faster and faster and like more and more fluid as the day went on because we were learning the set.
Sure.
It's a very different experience than doing a draft where you're 2 or 3 months into the set and everybody already knows what to look for. So yeah, it was really cool. I liked just being able to see the different ways that people approached it and kind of watch everybody's builds. But for me, most of it was just scoping out cards to be like, all right, what am I going to add to the stuff I have at home? Like, how am I going to improve my
I
constructed with this stuff?
Do have a feeling that this is going to be a very specifically like slow sealed format in particular, especially on pre-release, because everybody, and likewise, I mean, we did the same thing. You're gonna want to try to play almost every Planeswalker that you can cram in that deck. I feel like.
I had 5.
Well, and just because like why not, right?
Yeah.
And because that's what pre-release is for. It should be just like playing the cards and having fun with your friends.
Yeah.
And making Cam just have an absolutely miserable evening. I mean, there's a few moments at the end of the day where I'm looking at my board and I'm like, I could probably win, but my brain is just like, maybe we'll just add a lot of stuff. Like,
So from the outside, looking into that match, that watching you, and I could see you doing it where you were like, a lot of people were like, just go, just get him, like he's done, and you're like, I'll attack with some of my stuff. And from the other room watching, we were like, she's being so mean. Why is she toying with him? Like, finish it. He's already dead. Just go. Let him go. It was pretty good.
There's just like, there's so much to keep track of in the pot.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it was great. It's a great way to feel overwhelmed.
I have to say, this feels like for the pre-release, it's gonna put a lot of pressure on the judges because there's a lot of board state effect. So you can have, if you have players with Amass and with all of these like ongoing zombie army effects and a bunch of planeswalkers with like static abilities, it's gonna be a nightmare to keep track of.
Nahiri gives everything first strike.
Well, and there's
at least 2 that make like Dovin and that wizard make your opponent's spells more expensive, but only some of their spells.
Yes, like only instants or sorceries. Well, and then we had when you played the Enter the God Turtles.
Yes.
Originally, there's so much text on that card.
Yeah. So this is a really good spell.
Thank you for just being able to find
this is a really good spell, unless you have someone turn it around on you,
like
and
halfway through
just
resolving
make
the card.
you feel bad about the cool spell you just cast. Then they get to take a turn.
Well, like
that's really fun when that
stuff
happens.
Like this, there's so much that's happening in Amass. I think you pointed this out too when we were playing it. Amass shows up in different places in different cards. Sometimes the first thing you do is Amass. And then sometimes, like this card and like the Callous Dismissal and stuff, it shows up after everything else resolves. And sometimes that is important.
Yeah,
and it was in this instance in our game.
Enter the God Eternals is, in case you can't read it, it deals 4 damage to a creature, and you gain 4 life equal to that damage. And then the target player puts the top 4 cards of their library into their graveyard, and then you amass 4. And as Adam pointed out, when I can't think of a better card for me to have cast Narset's Reversal on, which it basically does the remand. It doesn't counter it, but it sends the card back to their hand, and then I get one. So
uncommon, or is it a rare?
It's a rare.
It's a rare, yeah.
Yeah, but basically I got to make my own copy and was like, oh, okay, so I'll actually kill your only creature and mill you for 4, and I gain 4 life, and then I make my zombie into a 5/5 now.
I feel like that God Eternals, and I don't know if Mark opened one or not, but I feel like it would have fit really well in the deck that he was playing, because you can have separate targets. You can say, I deal 4 damage to this creature, I gain 4 life, then I target myself to mill 4.
Yeah.
And then it goes. And you amass. So I think it would fit in there too. There's some good synergy.
So I had the Narset's Reversal. I also had Narset as one of those 5 planeswalkers I mentioned. I realized when I was going through my pool that I had a lot of support in red-blue for a Spells Matter deck, and that all of my planeswalkers converged on red-blue, because I had Narset, who was mono-blue, and then 2 copies of Sihili, one of which was the promo, and then also Angrath, who is casts for Rakdos Hybrid, meaning in my deck was just 2 red-red, and also Nahiri, who was cast for Boros Hybrid, meaning she was also just 2 red-red, and I also had a Spark double that I never got to cast, but
well, you tried to cast it once.
I tried. Well, I tried to.
You tried to retrieve it.
I tried to retrieve it off Narset before
right.
realizing it was a creature and not. I thought it was a copy effect. It's actually a creature. And so that's why I was saying I have at least 5 planeswalkers in the deck, but potentially more. And yeah, that did a bunch of stuff. That deck. What was the actual line? Because in our game, Adam, I did a thing that it was just like all the gears came together. It was like dun, 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 dun.
It was like you had Sihili in play, and you were bringing up servos like on the regular because you had all these spells.
Yeah.
And so you got to that point where you were casting something, and there was, I think you had 2 different creatures that were getting buffed by the spells every time you cast them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, the
You
one
had
that one scry one.
Strix.
Right?
Oh right, that was
the
it.
other
So it was when I Narset's Reversal the Amass.
Yep.
It wasn't just that all of that happened. Also, I made a servo from Sihili and proliferated from my Flux Channeler.
The Flux Channeler, that's the one.
That was the one. Flux Channeler, really good. Yeah, it's a 2/2 uncommon that whenever you cast a non-creature spell, proliferate.
Yeah.
So it was just my whole deck was just burbling over with like caring about casting non-creature spells.
Also, Atraxas says hi.
Yeah, no kidding.
When I played against Egram, I made a point of either killing this or killing Sihili as fast as possible. I was like, I don't want to deal with either of those things.
Luckily, I had an emergency backup Sihili, but I only had one Flux Channeler, and yeah, the Flux Channeler was very, very good. And because again, with that many planeswalkers and with just sort of incidental Amass and the couple creatures that have counters, just sort of building everything back up. I think anything that gives you repeatable proliferate is very strong.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't see as much proliferate as I expected on the board.
It's mostly it's in green and white.
I think so,
mostly,
yeah.
and the only people who were playing any green was me.
Yeah.
Only for ramp, really. And then Kathleen's deck also had green in it.
Right, it makes me think that in a constructed format, we'll see a lot of it getting added to like Merfolk and like any Simic deck.
I did also have a Karn's Bastion, that's correct, yes.
Yeah,
Thanks,
right,
Paul.
4 and tap.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
what did you have going on?
I built my deck on camera, and it was a weird experience.
Yeah.
I was red-black, just straight up. Like, just a normal... I had, like, a couple Planeswalkers. It just felt like a very normal limited deck for Adam. Just the way I like to play. Like.
It wasn't because of your promos, but your promos were Obnixilis and Neheb.
Yes.
So, like, good start.
Good start. Neheb was great. I only really... Well, I shouldn't say great, because, like, I hit with him once. And I hit Dennis once. Dennis let Neheb through, which I thought was weird. Like, I think it's like, if you have the choice to kill that card, I think you should just kill it and not give your opponent... Because, like... The ability to just pitch your hand, like if your opponent hits you with a Neheb and they're like, I pitch 4 cards, you're like, oh, I'm dead. Like I'm just like, they're like pitching 4 lands or something. I'm just like, oh, okay, cool, man.
Every Neheb has like been good.
Yeah,
actually.
5/4, a 5/4 trample for 4.
Yeah.
Okay, like I guess, like you know what I mean.
This is another one. I had one of these guys. This is another one of those ones you might not be able to read, but the idea is that if Neheb deals combat damage to a player or a planeswalker, then you can chuck anything you want in your hand, and for each thing you do, you get a red mana, which I think
draw that many
cards.
and then draw that many cards.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And the mana doesn't disappear as phases end.
that's right.
Do you
yeah.
play the mono red deck on Arena? Because I feel like this is gonna be
And Neheb-
everybody's
I
new
think there's
friend.
definitely room.
And Neheb
in-
has trample, so you
Yeah.
can't just chump it with a 1/1.
yeah, there's definitely room in constructed for this guy for sure.
I mean, like if we're talking constructed, doesn't Rekindling Phoenix eat up that spot?
Yeah, but I think this is better than Rekindling Phoenix.
well, Rekindling Phoenix isn't going to be around forever.
I mean,
right?
Yeah,
hot.
true.
Also hot takes, but like, I mean, if you if you get through a damage, it goes. You now have Spectacle. Then you can light up the stage
With an
off of this,
experimental frenzy in
and
play?
you have
Nah.
all the damage off of this.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if you have this, a Steamy
experimental
Boy?
frenzy.
You can light up the stage off of this with that free mana, and then you're just playing all those. You get the Steam King counters. I think you just win.
yeah, I
Like,
mean, I would
unless
almost,
you don't have any burn spells in your mono red deck, Adam.
I'd almost throw out.
Sorry,
the,
that's a little bit of a side note there.
I'd almost throw out the
Not a
experimental
constructed.
frenzy for Neheb.
Oh.
Oh yeah, that's
Really?
a good idea.
Yeah,
I just
I don't
saw the
think you need to
experimental
run
frenzy. I was
both.
like, doesn't work.
It's
with
like an
the head.
experimental
Like,
frenzy that hits your opponent.
Exactly, yeah. And experimental frenzy almost always outlives its welcome anyway. Like it sticks around and you're like,
I whiff a land off the top of Experimental Frenzy every
Yeah,
single
I would swap that out for sure. But I also don't run Rekindling Phoenix necessarily.
And
I don't
like,
run Rekindling Phoenix.
in my
mono
deck, I
red.
had 2 copies of Aingrass Rampage.
Yeah.
Which was
Yeah.
awesome.
That's
It's so, usually I don't like sacrifice effects.
There's an uncommon to write home about.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
usually hate them. I usually think I'm like, nope. Like Liliana's thing. Liliana's
Edict, the
Triumph.
Liliana
Yeah.
Edict.
And I was like, I think that's good because it's instant speed.
Yeah.
But usually a sorcery speed sack effect, I'm like, I'm good, thanks, I'll pass. But this just almost always picked off a Planeswalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was just like, I choose Planeswalker.
Technically, you can make someone sack an artifact as well, but
It turns out modal cards are good.
Yeah.
Who would have thought? You know what I mean?
Giving
Like-
yourself options on one card seems great.
It's a lot of flexibility for 2 mana.
I didn't have it in my deck, but I definitely think that Aid the Fallen is going to be very good and limited.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
we were talking about that last night because
Yeah.
it came up, and it's pretty solid.
Dude, there's like, they put one of these in every set now. Like, you know what I mean? Like these
Yeah.
modal kind of like graveyard recursion cards, like March of the Drowned from Ixalan, and then March of the Drowned from Ixalan. That's all I can think of.
There's one in
Dominaria
every
had Soul
set.
Salvage that
Yes.
was just 2 creatures.
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
the thing is, like I said, I was in red-blue, so I didn't have that in my deck, but I was churning through Planeswalkers at a much higher rate than you do normally, right? And so I think that the likelihood of having a creature and a Planeswalker in your graveyard is
more
going to be
likely.
higher than you might
A
think.
non-zero amount of times.
Yeah, and then just having 2 mana to get a creature and a Planeswalker back to your hand, that's got to be good.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it in that way, you're drawing 2 and they're probably good.
Yeah.
Like, this could potentially be a 2-mana draw 2, which is not always the way that you should think about these, but I think it's
But often.
fair to say that will happen a decent amount of time.
Yeah.
And
Then what do you think you're?
I was super sorry. 2 more cards I want to
Yeah,
I was
please.
super happy with the Cruel Taskmaster. I think that's the 2-drop, the 2/3 that like grave digs.
Yes, you
yeah.
play
Cruel
that-
Taskmaster. It's Cruel Taskmaster, I think.
It's a zombie for sure.
It's a 2
It's
mana,
something
2/3.
Taskmaster. It's 2 mana, 2/3.
Eternal
Eternal
Taskmaster.
Taskmaster. There we go.
Yeah.
Cruel Taskmaster.
He
Eternal.
probably is cruel
He is
looking.
Bad, mean guy. His name is John. And he's just gonna be like,
Saul bad guy.
Yeah. 2/3 enters tapped, and then whenever you attack, you can pay 2 and a black, and if you do, you get to take a creature back from your graveyard to your
Oof.
hand.
Turns out
And that's
3 toughness is real good.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what, sorry?
yeah. I would just say I didn't even.
Yeah. It's
Realize-
not just zombies. It's any creature.
Wow, oof.
Yeah.
Like I had things where like when I was playing against Graham, I could attack with it, and I had like Vraska's finisher or whatever in my graveyard. So he's like, oh, I could block it with my 1/3 or something, but then he's just gonna get back the finisher, and then I can cast the finisher, kill the 1/3, and it's like, okay. And then the only other card that I was kind of disappointed in, and I think this is just because I didn't blow anybody out with it, was Widespread Brutality.
Yeah.
Because I don't think it was a good card in my deck. Like I didn't have enough.
Because your armies weren't big enough?
My armies weren't big enough.
So yeah, it's 1 black, red, red, so it's a little tough to cast. Amass 2, then that army deals damage equal to its power to each non-army creature on the board. So it can be a board wipe where only your army is left standing.
There were multiple times
your
where it
point,
was a
then.
4-mana 2/2.
Yeah.
In my hand, it didn't do anything.
Is there a whole cycle of these? There's at least several of them because isn't there?
Well, there's the black. Death
There's a lot
Sprout.
more like 1 ABB cards. Like it's where it's an uneven spread of pips.
Yeah, well, because I think this is in the same, I guess you'd call it a cycle as Death Sprout.
Yes.
yeah.
Which also
There's
that card did work.
There's that weird 2/3 lifelink death touch tap for mana, the black green.
Yeah. The Leyline
lizard
Prowler?
thing. Leyline Prowler, yeah.
That one's also black green though,
yeah.
Yeah.
and isn't it just 1 black green? Isn't it?
It's 1 black green.
What a ludicrous card Leyline
This,
Prowler is.
Death Touch, Lifelink, and it ramps.
It does everything. It slices, it dices.
I guess.
It folds your laundry.
What a nightmare beast.
Yeah.
It's real neat though.
Yeah.
I like it.
Oh, sorry, one more card. The 6-drop. The Homeboy.
Oh, your favorite.
My favorite.
yeah.
The Homeboy, man. Homeboy Industries, yeah.
Tithebreaker Giant.
Tithebreaker Giant, yeah. 5 and a black for a 4/5 that draws you a card and you lose a life.
It's the biggest blade juggler ever.
It is a very
Love
large
this.
blade druglet.
I love this little homie. Yeah, I will jam. I'm gonna have like draft decks that I'm gonna post to Twitter, and they're gonna be like 4 of those in the deck, and I'm just gonna be like,
Huge juggalo.
yeah. Whoop whoop.
What? Did you have a marquee play of the day yesterday?
Not really.
I have one that I would pick for you,
What's
but
that?
the one where you just played the one where it's Gideon riding on Rakdos, and you just said like, and I was just like, just deal 2 damage to Dennis.
Oh, yeah,
It was just instant speed, 1 and a black, deal 2 damage to Dennis. It's the one where Gideon's on. There we go. Unlikely aid.
Unlikely.
1 and a black.
I mean, like, I got to do a cool thing where I kind of ramped into my Homeboy with Neheb.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to pitch a card, and then I got the extra mana on turn 5, and I played it.
That's sweet.
Put a 4/5, yeah. So I was like,
That's
oh, when I killed my creature with Obnixos is kind of sweet too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
This was against me.
Yeah.
You had the 1/2, the Lazotep Reaver, I think. It's just like a 1/2.
That Amass one.
1/2 Eternal Pupper that comes with a.
Is it a 2/1 or a 1/2?
It's a
It's
1/2.
Okay, it's a 1/2.
It's
And a
real
mass
small.
one.
And so it had basically worn out its
So they weren't
welcome.
going dolly.
And you knew you had graveyard recursion in the deck, if not already in your hand.
Yeah.
And so you're like, you know what? I'm just going to destroy my own creature and draw 2 cards. And I was like, oh no, because I didn't care about a 1/2 at that point. And so you were like, I'm just going to cash this in for card advantage. And
I mean, like, it's
that
like
was good.
5 mana, sack a creature, draw 2 cards at sorcery speed. It's not bad, and it might game you some life because you're gonna have to attack this Planeswalker.
Well, the other thing is that Obnixilus just sat there hurting me all the time.
It's 7 damage one game.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that you can potentially amass, sack that creature, and then make another one because amass makes you another creature as soon as you don't have one. So.
I'm sure that Mark is going to bring it up, but can we just like discuss for a second whether or not that black and 1 enchantment that amasses and deals you damage?
Oh yeah.
Does it suck or not?
Zombie Blossom.
I can't tell.
Yeah,
Right?
I think it's too early. It's not Bitter Blossom. It's just not. It's not. It's not even remotely close.
No.
Yeah.
No, not remotely close. But there was times where, with that, like Sydney said, with the blue bounce spell, there's like times where you're going to have this card and you're going to have an army on 5 and your opponent's going to bounce your army and you're like, well, I just spent 5 life and maybe that's
I
it.
mean,
And then you're
Kathleen
just like,
removed Chems when it was at 5, so it hadn't gotten the lifelink yet.
Yeah.
This card has other text, by the way. The bottom clause on this card is quite relevant. But yeah, I don't know. Perhaps actually, this is a perfect segue. In recap number 2, Cameron and Mark, who both had this in their decks,
will probably have
hopefully
opinions on
lead
it.
some
I mean,
sort of
I
insight
had
into
it. I never cast it.
Oh, you had it? I didn't even realize.
Guys opened up like a collective lot of these.
I didn't. Oh well.
There was times too, like where I had it in my hand, and when I was playing against Dennis, and I was like, I would just rather play a creature. Like I just played.
Yeah,
a
something that gets you immediate value.
I was like, oh, I'll just play.
I don't think it works in aggro Rakdos, no.
No.
Oh well. Anyway, that was our recollections of the War of the Spark PPR. So thank you for joining us and listening. Thanks, Adam and Sydney, for joining us and for being not just here now on this video, but also for coming to the PPR. It was great to meet you and have you here.
This was
Thank you.
We're great.
beyond fun.
Yeah, it's been a delight.
Super good. So thanks again to Wizards of the Coast for bringing us this, and stick around for the second recap, which will be hitting the channel soon. Question mark?
Cam is alive, I have been told.
No, they're
Yes.
they're questioning Mark next.
Oh yes, you can question mark in PPR recap number 2. Goodbye, everybody.